In this presentation, we will take a look at an example problem related to a not-for-profit organization. We're going to be looking at reporting expenses by nature and function. You'll recall in prior presentations, we talked about putting together financial statements, including the statement of activities as we see here. You'll note that the statement of activities is going to be similar to the income statement for a for-profit type of organization. The income statement showing the temporary accounts, those timing accounts, the performance over a certain time frame. They include typically revenue type of accounts. Expense type of accounts, will be subtracting the two to get to the bottom line, usually being called net income in a for-profit type organization, here being called increase in net assets. So that's kind of like the net income number here. We here are focusing in on, within the statement of activities, the expenses. The expenses here being broken out by function, including what the entity is in business for, what the entity is organized to do as a not-for-profit organization, the programs involved, and then the supporting functions as well. So we have the public health education program, community service program, management in general, and fundraising. This is a very nice way to see the statement of activities, because you'll note that it's a little bit more confusing, in other words, than an income statement already, because rather than having one column where you can basically put income and expenses and possibly break out the subcategories in the separate columns, we've got these three columns, including those items that are going to be without donor restrictions, those with donor restrictions, and then, of course, the total. So that's going to be confusing enough. Also, when we think about a not-for-profit organization, the people on the board, people that are going to be in charge of decision-making processes, may not be all that familiar with a financial statement type of reporting. We want to keep it simple. It's already a bit more complex given the fact that we have these three columns. Therefore, to break out the information by function, by what we're going to be doing them for, by program and supporting functions, it can cut down on a lot of space on the statement of activity. So this is a really good report to be given to people, because instead of having a whole list of expenses, which will also have the three columns, and then trying to show some way how they break into functions as well, which could be done, but it would be kind of complicated, kind of ugly, might make people's eyes roll over, especially if they're not familiar with financial statements. If we put it in place by function here, somebody can review this, they can get the detail of it, we can have a debate on it where everybody has a preliminary knowledge of what's on this financial statement. Then we could provide the more detail to it by also providing the information by nature, which is typically the normal way we would have the financial statements, in that we would have the expense accounts broken out by basically expense category, things like rent expense, salaries expense, telephone expense, printing expense. You'll recall when we were creating the financial statements that we had all of these expenses. We created this table breaking out those expenses by the services, health service, the general and the fundraising. So we actually broke these out already so that we could create the statement of activities that will be grouped by function. Now, if we have the statement of activity that is only grouped by function and not by nature, we need to take this worksheet and basically put this added information within the financial statements or somewhere within the financial reporting, which will in essence just break those expenses out by their nature, by the rent expense, salaries expense, telephone expense, and so forth, as we would be normally used to seeing. We can also break this information out by function as well within the columns to give that detail as well. So this report will supplement the statement of activities very well. You could say, okay, here's the information by function. Where's all the expense accounts? What's the detail? How much did we spend? And what did we actually spend it on? What's the nature of the things that are making up these numbers? Oh, look at the other report here that's going to be included with the financial statements. That report's going to give the expenses by both nature and function.